Recording in progress.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye arahati samya samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye arahati samya samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. Happy New Year! 过年新喜乐，新年快乐，新年吉祥。All of those good things. Happy Year of the Snake. Looking forward to being with you today. This is the 26th, 3 days until the actual Lunar New Year's on Tuesday here in Australia, Monday back in America. We are going to be investigating the Flower Garland Sutra. Boy, do we have a powerful section of text for everybody today. So let's continue our protocols to get underway here. Namo Shout out to Ashoka Banjos. Check it out online. And we respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambe language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 我们恭敬地承认Ugambe语族的Kombu-Meri人，我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人就是他们。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Bells sound wide, resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他们护德。Here we are. Hope you all appreciate my desktop. The Python you're looking at there is Fractal. May Fractal rest in peace. Fractal was a 7-year-old female carpet python. Spent most of her day in a terrarium, but her owner brought her out periodically to the monastery to delight everyone. Fractal was very inquisitive snake. She poked her nose all around my robe, wanting to know who this monk was. And as soon as she had me categorized by scent, she lost all interest in me whatsoever. I was not edible. I wasn't going to become a meal for her. And I don't think I smell very good compared to meat eaters. I didn't smell a lot like a carnivore, so she just was, I was a piece of furniture as far as Fractal was concerned. Fascinating. I learned to lose fear of large snakes, large reptiles, by meeting Fractal and other pythons. They were here before the humans came, and they'll be here long after we're gone, I think. So fascinating to meet the reptile part of the world. All right, let's see here. And while we're at it, since we've got a, there we go. Okay, good stuff. People who would like to ask questions, please type them in. They will be edited and posted in 2 languages. I like to take the names of the individuals off, but leave where they're from so we know. So the questions can come up anonymously when I bring them up on the website. So we've got a way of sending the questions to me edited. There's it's a wholesome practice to pay attention first. Some of the questions come in and are not sincere. So if people have a question about Dharma, please ask away, type it in, and we will get to them bit by bit. Speaking of the interaction of the Dharma with the natural world, I would like to share, let's see here, oops, come on, there we go, that's what we're looking for. Was it here? Let's see, okay. We, did I lose it? Shoot, I was looking for, there is a, was it Chuffed? Let's see, I think it was. Hold on, we'll be right there. Let's see, bees. Hold on. How do I search? Here we go. bees in Los Angeles. Here it is right here. This, I think, is worth our attention. The fires in LA have done a lot to wipe out bees, their hives, and the flowers that they feed on. And when the bees are gone, the pollination is gone. When the pollination is gone, the food is gone. So these kind-hearted people are looking for donations so that beehives can be physically picked up and carried to places where the flowers still exist, where the crops are still, they didn't get burned. So the thing to do, I will put, it's called Save LA's Bees. I'll add that to the chat. If anybody is interested in putting some strength behind a very worthwhile campaign, that will take you to chuffed.org, Rescue and Recovering from Honeybees After Wildfires. Certainly people too, and pets, larger things than honeybees, but who remembers the honeybees? Well, when there's no more produce in the market, that's when we think, and it's down the chain where the production of food got broken. Hey, there we go. Bring this up. I'll close that. There we go. All right. Last week, our teacher, his name is Shanzhu Bicho. He's a monk. His name is Wholesome Abode. He has been telling Sudana and all of the audience there, which are the gods and the dragons and all of the spiritual beings, about his ability to transform his body. He is master of the elements, and he got that way through the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha Dharma. There are other paths to mastery of the elements, particularly the body. We talked about Carlos Castaneda and his northern Mexican shaman heritage, mastered by his teacher, Don Juan Gennaro. There's that. Master Hua would tell us about dragons who had psychic powers, who could master certain elements of the body, but if they failed to master the virtue as the foundation of it, if they skipped to Ding and Hui and left out the Jie part, they went to samadhi and wisdom but forgot the precept part, then they could master the elements, but they lost their human bodies in the process and became part of the animal realm. That's dragons in particular. Master Hua would then tell us, he would say, you know who else? He would say demons and ghosts also can have Gui Tong and Mo Tong, demon powers and ghost powers. So the ability to change your body is fairly mechanical if you know methods, if you know how to do it. Don Juan, for example, could become a crow. That was his shapeshifter quality. He had those affinities. But here in chapter 39, we're in the third teacher of Sudana, and also, interestingly, in the 10 stages chapter, when we get to stage number 3, we also encounter Shantong psychic abilities, psychic powers, the ability to change your body. Our teacher here, Shanzhu Bicho, particularly goes into number 3 out of 6 psychic powers. It's called Shanzhu Tong. Maybe it's number 4, depending on how you list them. But the Shanzhu Tong is also known as the complete spirit or completion of the spirit. Other different translations, fulfillment of the spirit. And the arhats also kind of fit in their counterpart among the various systems of transforming the body's elements. It's called the Lohan Shiba Bian, 18 transformations of an arhat. Similar, different numberings, different orders, different. Our Shanzhu took up above. It was I think it was 2 lectures ago. Here is the one where he said he could. The list went on to say he could fly through the air. He could walk, stand, sit, or lie down in space. He could hide himself, reveal himself. He could come out in one body or many bodies. He could go through the wall as if it was air, and he could turn the air into something solid. Likewise, he could walk on the water. Likewise, he could pass through the dirt, pass through the earth, sit in full lotus and fly through the air like a bird in flight. He could send fire out the top and water out the bottom, or switch it. He could reach his hands up and touch the sun and moon, etc. Right? This whole list of very specific actions that someone with the 18 transformations of the Arhat or the Bodhisattva's mastery of this third Shantong can do. Not a problem. They can do these things. Okay, where our Bodhisattva left behind the Arhats and the shamans, and he became completely an Avatamsaka level Bodhisattva, is what followed last week, where he said in a single thought he could send his body out to countless numbers of worlds. And as he went there, when he went to these worlds, his reason for going was to take part in Buddha Dharma assemblies, places where the Buddha was speaking Dharma, explaining how to teach living beings, how to end suffering for us. That was the reason why he wanted to travel, and he could do it. And then he started naming the number of worlds he could go to. And that's where we pick up. So he said the conclusion was, 于彼一切诸佛国度佛世尊前听闻说法. I could go to all those Buddha lands, and wherever the Buddha's world honored ones were, I would sit in front of them and listen to their Dharma, listen to what they taught, listen to the wisdom they dispensed. So it's like, yeah, that whole idea of what do bodhisattvas do? What are they into? How do they spend their spare time? They go learn, they go to school, they go to bodhisattva school. In those assemblies, just like the story being told here in this part of our chapter, we have Sudana showing up in a place called Lanka near the seaside, joining in a large number of spiritual beings who are watching a monk demonstrate psychic powers. That's the story he's listening to. And it's like, yeah, Sudana's in class. He's in class. He's taken a extension course, learning how this incredible monk can do these things with his body. All right? And this is how I want to approach it today, to bring it, to kind of ground it down to where we are. Because that's what is so amazing, is what he can do with his body. This monk. We can't. When we get sick, we get sick. We get a cold, we reach for the Kleenexes. We encounter a pandemic, we reach for the vaccinations, for the inoculation. These bodhisattvas, so we're definitely at the mercy of the environment in terms of our bodies. This bhikshu, he's the boss of the environment. He is, as they say, tsudzai when it comes to psychic powers. He's as absolute self-mastery in this realm. So, okay, he went on last week to say, I go to where the Buddhas are and I make offerings. My bodies go there. I can manifest, I can make appear all these different bodies, not just one body. But let's pick up again, because we finish with this sentence. I want to read this again so we get a sense of what the bhikshu can do. So let me read along here. He says, 一一佛所现无量佛刹为成数持别身，一一身与无量佛刹为成数供养云。所谓一切华云，一切香云，一切曼云，一切墨香云，一切土香云，一切盖云，一切衣云，一切窗云，一切梵云，一切障云，欲一切神云而为供养。一一如来所有宣说，我皆受持；一一果度，所有庄严，我皆意念。Okay, we added the last two lines. Within each of these Buddha places, I make appear as many different bodies as there are dust particles in limitless Buddha kshetras. From each body, I rain down clouds of offerings in number like dust particles in limitless Buddha kshetras. Specifically, clouds of flowers, clouds of incense, clouds of garlands, clouds of powdered incense, clouds of paste incense, clouds of canopies, clouds of garments, clouds of banners, clouds of streamers, clouds of curtains. Clouds of bodies appear to make these offerings. I learn and embody everything that each thus come one explains. I remember all the adornments in each Buddha land. Okay, that's repeating last week's passage. And I want to just remind folks some of the qualities here that we're learning about is the offerings that the Bodhisattva, that our teacher talks about, the bodies that he's offering. Many of them come from nature. Notice that. So we've got, he uses clouds just to indicate number, quantity. A cloud of something means little droplets. So many that a cloud moves in and obscures our view, and then the cloud dissipates and we can see again. That's how many these are. So clouds of offerings. What are they? He says, flowers. So, giving flowers to the Buddha, perfect offering. If we don't know we want to go and connect to the Buddha somehow, we want to make a gift so the Buddha, we come on the Buddha's radar screen, find some flowers. Grow your own, right? It just doesn't have to be roses or chrysanthemums. It can be a dandelion. It's best not to pick it from somebody else's lawn, but if you've got any kind of flowers of your own, offer them to the Buddha. What a fine offer. What else? Incense. Now, this gets a little technical because what if you're like in North America, the folks who are dedicated incense makers in North America, you can probably count in one hand. One of them is a graduate of Dharma Ram Buddhist University, Kenny Kanyada, who is a dedicated student of Asian incense art, the art and craft, Asian incense craft, probably say. Kenny has been a student of one of Singapore's most accomplished incense craftsmen, someone who studied the traditional ways of doing it. And the exciting thing is what kind of materials go into the incense. So North America, we have all kinds of pines, all kinds of fragrant trees. Think of cedar wood. Think of different kinds of pines, Sitka pine, Adirondack pine, lodgepole pine. This is essentially an unexplored field that could produce some incredible incense. I don't know what redwood smells like when it burns. Well, thank goodness. We're not encouraging the burning of redwoods, especially not the living ones, because we live underneath them. We don't want fires. Keep the fires away. So if we don't know what redwood incense smells like, that's fine. No worries. But potentially, there could be some wonderful natural North American incense. Now, I happen to know that the major source of sandalwood these days is no longer India, it's Australia. Australia produces some of the best sandalwood, the outback. There's incredible sandalwood. Our Dharma brother Borov Asher, when he hosted the three-country Buddhist forum last year down in Sydney, was it Zhong'aoxin, right? China, Australia, New Zealand. One of the offerings that he made to every participant, all the different people who came, was a beautiful, elegant glass ceramic container of rare Australian sandalwood powder. So here it is right here, clouds of powdered incense. If it was offered in the year 2025, chances are it came from Australia. So the natural world produces these things that our Bodhisattva, our teacher, is offering to the Buddha. Clouds of what? Clouds of garlands, flowers strung together, powdered incense, paste incense. Now, we don't have, if somebody said, what does paste incense look like? I would probably have to say perfume or creams, because paste incense, 涂香, I think this is a mistranslation. I think it's incense that you paste on your body. 涂 meaning a verb, incense for rubbing. Why is that? And why is that mentioned in the Avatamsaka Sutra? Our standards these days of I'm going to go into the shower and use, conditioner and then shampoo and then come out with different kind of, that's a fairly modern, or it's a contemporary culture way of getting past body odor, BO, right? In the past, you rubbed fragrant creams on the body to beat BO, to beat body odor. Now, that's not entirely true, because we think of Turkish baths, and we think of Roman baths, and we think of Japanese ofuro. There are different cultures have had different approaches to how you deal with the smell of the body, various smells. There was a time in India, especially because it was a hot climate, where you rubbed cream on the body that had scent in it as a way to stay fragrant. So this is maybe like a cosmetic, clouds of cosmetic incense. What else? Canopies. So parasols, think of umbrella, sun umbrella. For a hot climate, you hold up an umbrella. Garments, clothing, give a scarf, give beautiful, in India they have this custom of wearing a shawl. Men do in the hot summer, because it's often cold at night, hot during the day, so the shawl has double duty. Clouds of banners, streamers, curtains. These are decorations that have the purpose of adorning, making beautiful. At the same time, they keep the sun off, they keep the wind off, they keep the rain off. If you put a inscription in a message on the streamer, it can be something that you offer to the Buddha, as saying Namo Ban Shi Shi Jia Mo Ni Fo, fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. City of 10,000 Buddhas has these wonderful adorned streamers, banners. So these are perfect offerings to the Buddha. It doesn't have to be something that only rich people can afford. And now, after enumerating what kind of things are suitable for offerings and how many, a cloud of these and a cloud of those, further clouds of bodies appear making the offering. So there's a perfect Avatamsaka state. You go from a enumerator, you go from two, you go from cubed, from squared to cubed, from cubed to quadrated. So the superscript is not 2 or 3, it's now, you double the dimension, you add an entire dimension. Here's a body, I can make one body and make an offering with it. Oh, I can make countless bodies and make an offering with it. All these bodies start making multiple kinds of offerings, and then the bodies making offerings become clouds of those bodies, right? You keep multiplying, you keep increasing by a dimension, right? Okay, now fascinating. Look at what he says. He says, everything that these bodies learn from the Buddhas in those various places where I show up to learn from them, I learn everything that the Buddha teaches. There. That's so in line with my memory of Master Hsuan Hua. He was someone who loved learning, 好学, just like Confucius, saying that, you know, 活到老学到老. Confucius talks about how every decade he increased his ability to embody what precepts. He got more virtuous as he got older. That's what he wanted to study, was how to be a better person. Every 10 years or so, Confucius talked about how he progressed in virtue. He progressed in merit. He was a better person with every generation. He didn't stop. At no point was he, quote, done learning. So, furthermore, not only does each of the bodies that Shanzhu Bicho makes appear, not only do they show up and make offerings and study, but every detail of all the lands where he went, he remembered. He paid attention to every particular of every place that he went. Just, I mean, the humility of a bodhisattva is so appealing. At no point does the bodhisattva start to give orders, I'm going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because I want to. It's like, everybody follows me. No, he follows everybody. He is constantly learning. This bodhisattva is like, oh, that's interesting. Every aspect of the world around him is an opportunity for him to grow and expand in knowledge. That lights my heart up. I can definitely see myself enrolling in this Manjushri's Bodhisattva Academy, simply because there's so much to learn. And the attitude is, we're all learning together. That's right on. Okay, today we get to our new section where there's more dimensions to be explored in the lesson that he is teaching to Sudana. He says, we got one more dimension. Ready? Here we go. It's 如东方南西北方四位上下依夫如是，如是一切诸世界中所有众生，若见我行，皆决定得阿耨多罗三藐三菩提。As it is in the east, so too it's the same in the south, west, north, 4 intermediate directions, above and below. Within all of these worlds, if there are any beings who see my form, they certainly will attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Okay, so the word I was searching for is exponential. There is an exponent, that's the number above the superscript, where you say doubled and then cubed, right? We square it, then we cube it, then we quadrate it, if that's a verb. So in physics, these superscripts add a dimension. You add a 0 times X number, right? So he says what? I send my body to all these different Buddha lands to make these offerings. Furthermore, all those bodies in those Buddha lands are learning from the Buddha every time. I remember everything about those places as it was in each land. Then he says, okay, from that original image, have you got that idea? How my bodies are going on? So, okay, take that first one and now go east, go west, go north, go south, go in between, go above and below. In each of those places, the same thing is happening. Okay, that is called the Fa Jie Guan, the flower garland contemplation. That occurs over and over. If we touch chapter 40, the next chapter following this one, Samantabhadra's practices and vows, that's where we meet this contemplation. The Fa Jie Guan, it's going on there too. So one way to remember it so you never forget how this works is think of, first start from your heart. Start from your center, as if your heart center, as if the Xin, the Chinese word Xin, includes the idea of mind as well. So let's locate it. Let's put it right inside, right behind our breastbone here. So we've got this is the heart center. And then from that place, go to the direction in front of our face. Whichever way we're facing, that's direction number one. Okay, now tick off like a compass. Tick, 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 tick to the right, 90 degrees. Now we'll go in that direction and come back to the heart center. Continue ticking, tick, 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 all the way around to the back, and then bring our awareness back to the heart center. Continue ticking from that one, tick, tick, 90 degrees. Oh, now we're the other side where we started. Tick, 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 tick. And now we're back to the front. Return to the heart center. Okay, we've stitched a single plane all around us. We're in the center of a circle. And if that were to suddenly become solid, and then we went up, and then we went down, and in each case back to the heart center, now we're in the middle of a sphere. Think of a glass cube, a snowball. What was it? A snow globe. A snow globe. Remember, with Santa Claus and a snowman, you shake it and the snow comes down. We're now in the center of a sphere. And in each of those directions, the intermediates, above and below, our Bodhisattva is proposing for us. He's out there doing things. Samantabhadra, when he teaches Sudana, we're now at teacher number 3 or 4. He is number 53. He's the last one. His answer to Sudana asks the question to him as well. How do I cultivate Bodhisattva practices? How do I walk the Bodhisattva path? Samantabhadra says, good man. He says, here's what I want you to do. Bow, praise, make offerings, repent. Then there's 6 more. And in each one of these, there is a reference to this Fa Jie Guan, this Dharma realm contemplation, where Samantabhadra says, yep, out, this way, above and below, in all directions, we're doing this. Further, he adds a dimension of time. He says, Jin Fa Jie Shu Kung Jie, my body throughout past, present, and future, in all directions, to the ends of future time, I never get tired of doing this. That's what's known as the Fa Jie Guan, and it's unique to the Avatamsaka. When you hear that, in all directions, above and below, the intermediates, it's referring to this use of the mind, this particular Dharma door, this method of looking at your body, doing these things, doing these actions. And when I hear that, I think it must be because we're wired to be able to do this. I think the circuitry is already there inside us for doing this contemplation. So it appears over and over. This is definitely a pattern that we can identify as part of the Avatamsaka Sutra's way of looking at the world. So here it is right there in front of us. He says, within all these worlds, if there's anybody who sees my body doing this, they will attain Bodhi. All right, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept. I'm doing this. Furthermore, anybody who sees me doing it, you too will become a Buddha. Where have we heard this before? Does anybody recognize this? Maybe it might be Master Hsuanhua's 18 vows. Could that be it? Let's see. Look at that. Master Hua's vows number 14. I vow that all living beings who see my face or hear my name will set their hearts on Bodhi and quickly realize the Buddha way. 愿一切众生见我面乃至闻我名，悉发菩提心，速得成佛道。Master Hua's vow number 14, the very same as Shantu Bicho, our teacher, Sudana. That's interesting. So, this is a recognizable theme in the Mahayana. How about that? That's interesting. So, either Master Hua was inspired by this vow to make it his own from the Avatamsaka, or Avatamsaka bodhisattvas just do this, and it arises spontaneously. Because remember, Sherpa was 19. I don't know whether when he made these vows he had read the Avatamsaka. Perhaps he had. He was there by his mother's graveside when these vows came out. So it's possible that this is another one of these. The word meme has become already kind of ordinary. M-E-M-E, this meme, the idea of this kind of a paradigm of behavior. But certainly when we hear these kinds of vows, we think of the Avatamsaka Sutra and its bodhisattvas as a definite way that bodhisattvas can make their vows to rescue living beings go further. Sudana is hearing about this from his teacher. There it is. If there are any beings who see my form, they will certainly attain Bodhi. How about that? Now, what else? Ready? 彼诸世界一切众生，我皆明见，随其大小，胜劣苦乐，视同其形，教化成就。若有众生亲近我者，悉令安住如是法门。I can clearly see all the beings in those worlds, be they large or small, superior or inferior, suffering or joyous. I manifest in a form similar to theirs to teach and transform them and to bring them to accomplishment. If there are beings who draw near me, I will settle them peacefully in this Dharma method. Okay, wow, Sudana is hearing this and going, oh man, I want to be like you. He says all the worlds that he goes to, he can see the beings there. Doesn't matter how big they are, what they're like, superior or inferior. Think of large animals and small insects. Think of large humans and old humans and young humans. No matter how their lives are going. Are they suffering a lot? Are they happy a lot? I'm going to show up like them. I'm going to do this thing called the Se, She, Fa, the four methods of gathering in, giving to them, speaking kindly to them, collaborating with them or supporting them. He says, I'm going to do that. But I am so in charge of my elements of my body that I can appear just like them and teach them so that they become accomplished in the Tao, in the way. And if they get close to me, I'm going to teach them how to do this themselves. All right. Now, here it is. Vow number 16. I vow to awaken all sentient beings, responding to their many different potentials. 愿觉住有情，普摄纯机。I'm going, Master Hua's vows again, number 16. He says, whoever, no matter how people can be taught, I'm going to teach them in a way that works for them. And I just wanted to mention, the first thing that Sudana reports about his teacher is he's flying through the air. Vow number 17. I vow in this life to obtain the 5 eyes, 6 spiritual powers, the ability to fly. 愿此生既得5眼6通，飞行自在. Here's a third vow of Master Hua's 18 that sound exactly like Shanchu Bicho. How interesting. How interesting. Now, some people will jump ahead and say, oh, Fa Shi is saying that the Shifu. No, I'm not. I'm saying that Avatamsaka bodhisattvas have some themes running through their, when we're looking at their vows, the things they do, the things they teach others, there's some themes going here, similar themes. How interesting. How interesting. Now, what is it about appearing like them? We have it right here. Oh, I have to put that away. That's my, Cliff, that's my manuscript. Okay, so he says, I'm going to appear like them so I can teach them, so they can be they can finish their cultivation. Now, that's what Shanju Bichu says. Shifu says, I'm going to respond to what they can do and teach them. Furthermore, he says, if they see my face, if they hear my name, they're going to make the Bodhi resolve and become Buddhas. Further, I'm going to be able to fly. These have to do with the body, don't they? These are all qualities that have to do with physical mastery. And I think that's fascinating. This is this great compassion? Not directly. Is it prajna, wisdom? Not directly. Is it merit and virtue? Yeah, could be. People who are moved by goodness and kindness. But what it is directly is ability with physical forms, with the body. I want to show a photo. For those people who think, oh, I never saw Master Hua. Well, here you go. Take a look. If you see his form and you like it, there you are. You've now stepped into Master Hua's world of vows. So here he is. He looks like not elderly. He's a Chinese monk in his prime. In fact, Shifu was Manchurian. He's a Northwesterner from the north. And he had a large head. He had a strong body, very vigorous, very flexible. Shifu could do yoga. He was a yoga guy. And the people all reported seeing him differently. That was interesting. My mother saw Master Hua and was immediately taken by him as a teacher. She acknowledged the first time she laid eyes on Master Hua, Shifu sat her down in his golf cart and drove off into the night to have a conversation with my mother. I was gobsmacked. Where's the Shifu taking my mother on a golf cart into the dark, Mendocino County? It's like, what in the world is she going to do? The next morning, she comes up and the first thing she says is, don't talk, keep your vow, don't talk. She said, your teacher, very interesting, she said. I think he has wisdom, she said. And that's not a word in her vocabulary. And I didn't prompt her. I wasn't talking. I was still silent, So what my mother saw, Master Hua, immediately, first time, and she came to the city of 10,000 Buddhas thinking that Master Hua had put LSD into my tea and it somehow, used some sort of tricky method to capture the mind of her son. Otherwise, why would her son be behaving in these ways, looking like this? All of my classmates from high school had taken wives, had had children, had taken out mortgages, had bought a boat on the lake, and so I turned out like this. And one meeting with Master Hua was all it took to get my mother on his side. She was a Methodist churchwoman, and she was fascinated by Master Hua. He gave her a set of beads. She didn't know how to recite with them, but she wanted to learn. He spoke directly to her. Master Hua said, "You think I took your son. In fact, you gave birth to my disciple. He's followed me at lifetime after lifetime," he said. "You need to cultivate the way yourself." And so she's like, "Oh, well, I guess so. I guess you're right." It's like, wow, this is, how do you explain that? Because she had spoken to probably 3 Chinese men in her lifetime at that point. Mr. Peng Shizheng was my high school Chinese teacher. Mr. Peng came to our house for dinner regularly. She really liked him because he was just an amazing guy. He could sing Western opera arias. He could do ballet, male parts in ballet. He could do jate. He could jump in the air and twinkle his toes. Mr. Peng was an amazing, fun guy. He was a great chef. He taught us all how to make jiaozi, shui jiao, and a wonderful representative of Chinese culture at the most friendly and fun and lively and enjoyable. So I was able to introduce my parents to a representative of masculine, not macho, but strong, young Chinese men through Mr. Peng Shizheng. Mr. Peng went on to Oakland University. I introduced him to the faculty there, and he got hired. He married a Swedish wife, Ruth, who was a wonderful, happy academic, and Mr. Peng and Ruth just continued to represent Chinese culture at Oakland University. So that was a great hit. But other than Mr. Peng, Shifu, Master Hua might have been the only other male Chinese gentleman that she had spoken to. Didn't matter a bit. She wanted to learn from him. This is a teacher, and he's got wisdom, and I want to learn it. So that says something about my mother's attitude towards lifelong learning. That was one of her guiding stars, was learn things. And language was important to my mother. She was always analyzing people's speech for interesting idioms and parts of speech. That's probably where I got it too. So anyway, here's a teacher who, if you look at what motivates him, check his vows. His vows say, anybody who sees my name, hears my name, sees my face, is going to make the Bodhi resolve. I'm going to teach everybody according to what they can learn. That's what motivates me. That's what gets me out of bed day after day and life after life, probably. So there you go. And it has to do with bodies. It has to do with physical forms. Here is Master Hua doing that in Los Angeles to an old church on 6th Street in LA, which became Gold Wheel Monastery. Okay, so these realities here we are, expanded view. Master Hua sitting right there, and everybody seeing his name, hearing his name, seeing his face, seeing his disciples, right? So, and notice the Amitabha in the background. Can't see it in this picture. There's an Amitabha Buddha in the background. And all of these children are now adults, have children of their own, and talk about the time that the Chinese monk came to LA, There he was. Look at the Amitabha in the background. Even this church is long gone. How much the more the elders in the room, of which we are rapidly becoming they, right? Here we are. So, manifestations of the body. Thinking about this, in our time, in this this generation, how do we encounter teachers that inspire us to meet the Tao, meet the way, meet the Dharma? You know, and then having met it, embark on a path of Heng, of cultivation, of practice. Shifu would say, 修道的人, cultivators of the way, 行菩萨道的人, people who practice the way. And this is the way to approach it. It includes what? It includes giving up bad habits, deciding to stop smoking, deciding to cut back on intoxicants, changing your vocabulary, dropping the F-bomb out of your vocabulary. Just not using words that you know are going to shock or hurt the heart. All of these are practices. So what moves people to do such things? I know one. The television show Kung Fu. Boy, oh boy, that may have been one of the very first awarenesses that the Asian religions still lived in the world. It was what David Carradine was the actor. His father, John Carradine, was an old, even silent, black and white era movie actor. His son, David, was selected to be Cain, C-A-I-N, who was this character who was Hollywood's version of a monk. He had a kind of an Aussie hat, a bush hat, and he didn't talk much, but he knew martial arts. And it's very funny because David Carradine was a ballet dancer. Everybody who knows martial arts, who looks at him says, no, look, he's rising up on his toes before he launches a kick. You're supposed to drop your weight before you kick. That's bad form. His martial arts form really had left a lot to be desired. But we got the message that David Carradine studied martial arts. He was supposed to be a Shaolin monk, was the idea. And in the opening, the theme shots that before every episode of Kung Fu showed him training with a teacher, and there was a moment when he took his forearms and put them around a burning red-hot censer and burned scars on his arms as a mark of having taken the training of a Shaolin monk. Now, whether or not you burn scars on your body is another question entirely, so we'll leave that to another time. Kids, don't try this at home. Don't say, oh, Fasher said you're supposed to do this. No. I'm saying in Hollywood's version of martial arts, Cain, there's a scene of him doing this. He's naked bare to the waist, he's bare to his torso, and he's doing some martial arts moves. So it was a very successful, popular TV show, half-hour episodes, 30 minutes, where Cain wanders around through the West righting wrongs. He's kind of a Robin Hood character. And tough guys look at him and go, what kind of a pussy is this? You don't even talk. And they would try to move Cain with a punch or with a threat, and he would just flick it aside because he knows the arts. He knows martial arts. So that was an awareness of what was possible with the body, very appealing. And at the time, when Cain first came out, now the key was, this was on network television at night, maybe 7:30 or something. So it was right there in that time slot where I, as a 10-year-old, was all eyes watching, because we had been watching gunfighter television. We had been watching cowboy fiction, Have Gun Will Travel, Gunsmoke, The Lawman, starring Cliff Roberts, and every day after school, I came back and I watched Maverick, Brett Maverick, Bart Maverick. Who is the tall, dark stranger there? Maverick is his name. And we watched Sugarfoot, easy lopin' cattle, ropin' Sugarfoot, right? We were fed on a diet of men with guns. This is how you grow up as a young man, was you carry a gun in a gun belt, and you better be faster than the bad guys or you're dead. And the good guys wear white hats and the bad guys wear black hats. That was what we understood. A man is supposed to do. Now here is Kung Fu, spelled with a K, not a G. Here is Cain, who doesn't have a gun, but he is able to put the bad guys down using his martial arts, his martial prowess, right? And it's like, wow, his body. He can do those things with his body. Now, it was a few years later when, for the very first time, we got to see real Asian martial arts. Jet Li, Jackie Chan, those were the two first ones. Then on Monday, slowly, we got to see some of the current crop of real martial artists. And the films suddenly became very popular, and there were crossovers. Jackie Chan met with Eddie Murphy to do the cop movies, where Jackie Chan comes over from Hong Kong, and he's not using a gun, he's using his martial arts. So, and then the Shaw brothers, we started to see real martial arts films from Hong Kong that were exported over. You had to be in New York or San Francisco or LA to see those pretty much. But there they were. And suddenly a big door opened to Asian religions, sort of, but through the vehicle of what you could do with your body. Then we got to see things like Qigong, where it wasn't a question of training through martial arts. You could transcend gravity. Qigong light skills, you can move your body up into the trees, into the air. Then Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon became probably the most popular, Ang Lee's film, became the most popular martial arts film that reached a major Western audience. And at this point, we could see the whole flowering of wushu in China, martial arts. What had to do with what you could do with your body if you cultivated, if you trained. Now, the reason why I'm describing it this way is take a look at our hero, who for the last, so let's go back to the beginning of teacher number 4. This fairly brief episode. Wholesome abode. Sudana walks along, remembers what he learned from Haiyun, Haiyun Bicho, ocean cloud. He has to memorize and absorb all the things he learned. And he goes down to Lanka. He saw the bhikshu walking back and forth in the air while the gods are around him applauding. They're casting flowers in the air. They're making music because why? He is demonstrating Shannon, an ability to master the elements of his body. The dragons are making offerings. Kinnaras, the Maharagas, the Garudas, the Asuras, the Rakshas, the Yakshas, the Brahma Heaven Kings. Everybody's going, wow, can you teach me that stuff? Sudana sees him, says, I was sent here by my last teacher. I have a lot of questions. He asks him 20 questions of Dharma, Qingfa. He requests Dharma 20 different ways. And Bhikshu Wholesome Abode says, now you've told me that you made the Bodhi resolve. That's good. That's really good. I have realized a Bodhisattva's unobstructed gateway to liberation. And this is where he starts to explain. So the instructions come along. He describes his abilities. the psychic, Wu Yan Liu Tong, the 5 eyes, the 6 spiritual abilities. And he has continued on, talks about what he can do, and just today he summarized. He says, I can appear in any form that I want to teach, and anybody who sees my name, hears my name, sees my face, is going to make the Bodhi resolve and accomplish the way. That's what he told him. So it's like he really has control of his body. Do I? If I have a headache, I have to consider taking medication to get past. I have so little control over my body. If I have a bad mood, I don't have control over my feelings, my emotions, right? Basically, I have no control over my aging, over my happiness, over my sadness. All of these things. If somebody insults me, I get very upset, right? Somebody praises me, I get all giddy. This is how little most of us know about what's really going on. And yet, here's this teacher of Sudana who says, oh, yeah, here's what you can do. I did it, you can too. And by extension, this is part of every one of our Buddha nature. Every single one. Nobody is excluded. We just haven't heard about it, decided to do it, instead about learning how to do it. So, just by comparison, right? How interesting. Master Hua, as a young man, set out to learn these things. Age 19, he said, yeah, I want to do what the Avatamsaka Bodhisattva can do, and furthermore, not only I want to, I will. I'm going to do these things. That's how we learn Master Hua's 18 vows. That's so interesting. That this is still alive in our world. So, let's move forward a little bit more. Let's just do this. Let's do this next section. He's humble. He says he denigrates his own abilities and elevates the abilities of others. Okay, I'm going to read this along. Let me read it myself here. You're welcome to join along with me if you like. 善男子，我为之此朴素及供养诸佛，成就众生无碍解脱门。汝诸菩萨持大悲戒、波罗蜜戒、大乘戒、菩萨道相应戒、菩萨道相应戒、无障碍戒、不退堕戒、不舍菩提心戒、常以佛法为所缘戒、与一切智常作意戒、汝虚空戒、一切世间我所依戒、无失戒、无损戒、无缺戒、无杂戒、无着戒、无毁戒、清净戒、离尘戒、离垢戒，汝是功德，而我云何能知能说？ Good man, I only know this unobstructed liberation gate of universally and swiftly making offerings to Buddhas and bringing all beings to attainment. But as to how bodhisattvas hold the precepts of great compassion, the precepts of the paramitas, the precepts of the great vehicle, the precepts of connection with the bodhisattva path, the precepts of non-obstruction, the precepts of not retreating and not falling away, the precepts of not abandoning the Bodhi mind, the precepts of constantly using Buddha Dharma as one's basis, the precepts of being attentive to omniscience, the precepts of being like space, the precepts of depending on nothing within all worlds, the precepts of no loss, the precepts of no deficiency, the precepts of no lack, the precepts of no admixture, the precepts of no turbidity, the precepts of no regret, the precepts of purity, the precepts of being free from the dust, the precepts of being apart from defilement. How could I possibly know or speak of their merit and virtue? Okay? Wow, we heard the word precepts a lot, didn't we? That's what he's pointing Sudana back to. He says, first of all, he names his method. He said it is a gateway to liberation, unobstructed gateway. And he says I only know this quickly, everywhere, making offerings to Buddha and accomplishing bringing living beings to accomplishment, unobstructed liberation gate. All these teachers called their method a jetoman, a gateway to liberation. So that's the name of this one. And he says, but you know what? I don't know about all these precepts, so I can't teach you those. And he's letting Sudana know that there's more to learn. This is only number 3 out of 50 plus. Interesting, huh? He says, how bodhisattvas hold all these precepts: great compassion, paramitas, Mahayana, the path, non-obstruction, no retreat, never leaving the Bodhi mind, using the Dharma as what you stand on, being attentive to wisdom. And then he says, he starts to analogize, like space, like nothing in the world, no deficiency, no admixture, no loss, no lack, not turbid, no regrets, no absolute purity, free from the dust, free from defilement. I can't teach that stuff. That is what you want to learn, says the bhikshu, as he points Sudana towards the south. Fascinating stuff. Now, as to Shifu's vows, we brought him up. Save that, set it aside. We're talking about bodies and what can we do with our bodies. People who are not familiar with Shifu's vows, here we go. That's what I want. Close that. The first, here we go. There we are. Shifu bows before his mother's grave, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, the first 10 of the 18 all say that as long as there is any living being in the 10 directions and 3 periods of time who has taken refuge with me and has not become a Buddha, I'll go after. I'll wait. Here's an example. As long as there's one God, immortal, human, ashura, airbound, waterbound creature, animate, earthbound being, dragon, beast, ghost, spirit, spiritual realm creature who's taken refuge and hasn't become a Buddha, I will bu qu zheng jue. I will not take hold of right awakening. I'll wait. So these are the source of our famous, when we say, whenever we take refuge, that if you are a Guo Zibei, a Guo disciple generation, or a Qin Zibei, and you take refuge with Master Hua, you're his disciple or his Tu Sun, his second generation. You have to cultivate it, or now that you're part of the Dharma family, you're going to slow Shifu down. He won't be able to become a Buddha until you do. We always say that every time. So the first 10, more than half, have that pattern. Now that you've taken refuge, you have to do it. You have to become a Buddha first, or I'll wait. Then he says, all of your comfort and blessings, all of the comfort and blessings that I should get, I give to you. All of the suffering and hardships that you should suffer, I take them on myself. I like this one. I'm going to create innumerable bodies to get into the minds of living beings throughout the universe, those who don't believe in the Buddha Dharma, so they can turn away from harmful things, take refuge in the three jewels and become a Buddha. If you hear my name, if you see my face, you can make the Bodhi resolve and become a Buddha. I'm going to eat once a day. I'm going to accord with beings' minds. I'm going to get the psychic powers and the 5 spiritual eyes and the ability to fly. And all my vows are going to be filled. Okay? That's Shifu's 18 vows. Incredibly powerful. And interestingly, so similar to the Bhikshu Shanzhu. Similar. Okay, story time. I'm in Malibu, which is where the fires just burned. Right where the fires burned. Some of the pictures that came out of LA recently, I recognized the street because the houses that burned are on the ocean side if you're going north of Highway 1. The others are on the mountainside. So a police car stops. The California Highway Patrol, CHP. And it's Officer Lubbock, who had been out to see us several times, and Officer Johnson. The two of them came out, and we were on the ocean side, facing into traffic, because in America the cars go. So Officer Lubbock comes over and says, "Hey," he says, "guys," he says, "I want here, my wife baked you some cookies." He handed us a bag of cookies that his wife had baked, because he'd been seeing us for some time. And he said, "Glad to see you're still going. We're concerned about you because the traffic here is really fast, and the shoulder of the road is really narrow. And we understand that you are not going to become traffic hazards, right, guys?" He said. "I do not want to get the call that these monks have been squashed by a 16-wheeler, freight liner. I don't want to hear that call. So," he said, "we want you guys to stay as far over to the left as you can. And that thing you have where you bow in place and count the bows," he said, "do that where it's too narrow, because this is a major artery. Everybody's on this road. There are all kinds of people. Some people would be delighted to squash you just out of spite. They'd feel they were doing the world a favor by killing you. There are people like that here. No joke," he said. So he says, "You know what? What the question that comes up as we talk about you guys is, could you wear that red robe that the old monk is wearing, the monk who's behind you back there bowing? Because you can see him really clearly from a long way. It's that red robe that just catches the eye. If you could wear those red robes that he's wearing, it'd be a lot. Your robes are brown. You just blend right into the trees and the dirt." He said, could you get to wear those robes?" And we go, "The old monk in red robes behind us? Actually, we're not allowed to wear that red robe. It's it's his specialty." And he said, "We kind of thought so. But anyway, if you guys could wear that red robe, it would help. Maybe you could talk to him, right?" He said, "My wife saw you, and that's why she decided to bake those cookies." She said our post lawyer, a guy who handles all our legal stuff, came in the other day to our CHP highway patrol post and said he saw the old monk back there. And how come the young ones don't wear the same color robe? It would help a lot," he said. We'll consider it. We'll take it under consideration. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Well, and he said, "Okay." He says, "By the way," he said, "do you guys know the arts? Do you throw punches and kicks?" And so Marty Hung Chao, who was talking, said, "Well, we do Tai Chi. he said, I have a black belt in Taekwondo and other martial arts that I've studied, but my teacher said, he said he forbid me from throwing any punches or kicks. He says, as soon as I do that, I'm no longer his disciple. He said, I have to use kindness, compassion, joy, and serenity. Those are my power tools, he said. And Officer Lubbock is laughing. He says, yeah, he says, good luck with that. So Marty says, yeah, but he says they're remarkably effective, I've discovered. I never felt more safe than when I was down and about. He said, there's something there, definitely. And so Officer Lubbock went on and said, now, he says, what do you guys do when people come up and they threaten you? And Marty said, well, he says, we have 5 rules that we live by. He said, as monks, we don't kill, we don't steal, no sexual conduct of any kind, no lying, and no intoxicants. Those are basics. Actually, the ordinary Buddhist can do that too. Don't have to be a monk. And Officer Lubbock says, what was it again? Tell me that list. He said, killing, stealing, lust, lies, no intoxicants of any kind. He says, wow, that's amazing. I know why you feel safe. He said, if people I meet every day on the streets of LA, if they lived by those rules, I'd be out of a job. I wouldn't have to worry about anybody. And he said, yeah, that's really something. And you're vegetarians too, right? You lotus eaters, we talk about you over at the Post. We say, how can these wussies, you guys don't lie down to sleep and you eat 1 meal a day of vegetables? He said, I don't think I could do it. I do what you guys do. He says, more power to you though. He says, and try the red robes that that old monk is wearing. Right. We'll sure do, yeah. So the question is, who was that old monk in red robes? We actually were able to, we marked the day that he came out to see us. We went back to San Francisco and asked 2 of Shifu's Dharma protectors, Fang Guowu and Hu Guoxiang, Helen. We said, there was a day, it was a Saturday. Where was Shifu on that day? Did you see him that day? She said, what day was that? Oh, she said, yes, I remember. She says, Helen was up from LA on that day, and Shifu was there. We brought up his lunch tray, and at one point, he stood up. He got this long look in his eye, kind of the 1,000-foot stare in the 10-foot room, and he stood up, went into his room, closed the door. And we didn't know, Helen and I didn't know whether we should leave or stay. So we stayed, and an hour later he came back out, and he says, they're okay now. There's no problem. And he continued the conversation. We didn't want to ask him what he was talking about, but we thought it might have something to do with you two. And that was the day that the policeman saw the old monk in red robes bowing behind us on the highway. So, yeah, it's truly beyond my knowledge, beyond my pay grade, but it's fascinating to think of how Bhikshu Shanju vows to fly to Buddha's assemblies to learn what he can use to teach living beings, and then accord with them however they can be taught. Truly, there's a lot to learn. All right, I'm going to jump ahead of the monks from Berkeley at the moment to show, first of all, GCDR's events. Gold Coast Dharma Realm Chinese New Year Blessing Ceremony, coming up on Tuesday, 6:30 to 7:15 is a ceremony and a candle lighting, a chance to beat the gong dong. I'm gonna, if anybody's looking at the screen and wants to hit that QR code, there it is. Then starting at 7:30 to 9, there's going to be a performance by locals. Look at the locals. I'm a local. I'll be performing, singing songs, having fun. We get to hear from the talents of our young people and our Buddhist choir. Nuns are going to be leading them. So that's great. Then the next day, Wednesday, Medicine Buddha Repentance from 8 a.m. to 10:15 and 1:30 to 3. Transference merits. So anybody who wants to join in, there is a Zoom ID down below. You can type that in or click the, if you go to our website, you can also find it. All righty, there's that. Okay, I'm going to go out to our Berkeley Monastery website and ask Jinchuan or Jinwei to tell us what's going on in Berkeley.
Amitabha.
Amitabha.
Ooh, look at that.
We have our own Lunar New Year celebration at BBM, Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. It will be Wednesday, January 29th, which is the official Lunar New Year, starting at 9 a.m. in person. Or if you want to join us on YouTube or Zoom, you can do that as well. For those online, though, you can't join us for lunch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
virtual
we gotta
food.
work on that. They, I'm sure Bhikshu Shanju would probably think of a way.
Yeah.
We have
So-
DoorDash. We have what are the other ones that deliver food? We should get our bodhisattvas with psychic power.
Yeah, they can send it all the way to other people in other countries and
Yep.
just manifest vegetarian food for the new
or
year.
just call Uber or set
Uber.
to deliver
Uber Eats.
directly.
Yeah.
Uber Eats.
We'll
But
call it Uber.
the other thing will
Uber.
be
There you go.
for everyone online is River Hong Shou will be speaking at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I believe that's 6:30 a.m. in Gold
Right.
Coast in Asia.
4:30 a.m. in China.
Yeah, so people who want to listen in, please do. We're happy to have everyone join in.
Also, Brian Conroy will tell some
Oh
stories.
yeah, Brian Conroy will be there telling stories. That was our surprise.
Yeah, oh, I should not say that.
Okay,
But anyway.
I'm going to interrupt here. Go into my library room and turn right immediately. There's a bookshelf and the section on storybooks. Behind it is the Berkeley Storytelling Circle flag.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found it. I had
Oh.
misplaced it. It slipped behind the storybooks. So if you pull that out, Brian will be happy to see that.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
he's definitely so
definitely.
happy to
We'll
see
do
it.
So good that we say that then.
Great.
He's
Okay.
coming to Warren with his wife.
Yeah. So go down. This is the lecture that everyone's listening to right now.
So next
Welcome.
week, nothing changed.
Yeah, Master Empty Cloud lecture by Ravung Shur, Friday, 6:30 to 7:30. And then we have the 10 Transferences chapter on Sunday, tomorrow, 7:30 to 9 for CDB.
Please go to another link.
Yeah, it's a
because it
new
will be
link.
City of 10,000 Buddha's channel.
Yeah.
Correct.
Then you have the morning and evening streaming. So we started up again. So please join us if you would like to recite every day with the monastic community.
And what is not described here, after 7:30 p.m., we also finish with 30 minutes of meditation. And we have a three refuges exhortation for Bodhisattva Samanta Bhadra. And we do this every day. So we can chant and sit with us.
Great.
And the next one is the Roto Vihara website and newsletter sign up. We just created a Roto Vihara website, and we're now kind of made it public. And people are also starting to help us with creating a newsletter. So if you'd like to get the latest updates on what's going on at Roto Vihara, you can sign up for our newsletter. I think it's under contact. You go to contact, and then there's a newsletter option. Or on our BBM website, you'll see there's a
Link.
sign up to newsletter.
Okay.
The second one, yeah, let's contact us. So yeah, so please do that if you want to hear what's going on for the monastery.
In the forest.
Yeah,
In the forest.
kind of
Great.
creating our version of a forest monastery. Stephen Tainer will be starting soon, January 22nd.
Yeah, actually, he started already.
Oh yeah.
3 days ago.
3 days
And
ago.
he's continue until May 14, the very experienced teacher who is teaching at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery since the beginning, right? 1995.
And he wants to make Buddhism very practical for everyday life.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I think that's Marty plans
Marty.
to start on February 7th. So I think, let's see,
Following
maybe 2 weeks from now
2 weeks from now, yeah.
to start up again his lectures.
Alrighty,
I
that's
think
great.
that's mainly it.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
And here we go. Good stuff. Let's see here. To conclude today, we're going to dedicate merit and wish everybody Happy New Year. There's 85 of us online at the moment here. Other folks on YouTube, and we're listening in English, Chinese, and Vietnamese, which is joyful, grateful for the work of the volunteers who translate my words and also do the difficult tech connections to get this out on a variety of platforms. We need to ask Medicine Buddha to let these vibrations from his mantra quell the negativity in the world that is leading to imbalance and ill health for the planet and for all of the people in it and beings in it. So the more we recite this mantra, the sooner that energy will find its own balance. So let's chant this 3 times and dedicate merit. Samyak Sambuddhaya Tathata Asati Asati Sajya Sagate Swaha Namo Sajya Vaidurya Prabha Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Saji Saji Sagate Swaha. One more time. Namo Bhagavate Sajja Vaidurya Prabha Rajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata Saji Saji Sajja Sagate Swaha. Now we can bring up Guanyin Bodhisattva if you care to bow to Guanyin. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. see you all next week. I'm Tofu, everybody. Bye bye now.